Hello there. So today I've seen Minions and Monsters, which, believe it or not, is the new, hence going by the title, is the new Minions film that also features monsters, believe it or not. Wild how that happens. So, yeah, this will be my review. So, it's funny that I say that. There are monsters in it, and there are certain things about the plot, especially towards the end. I say plot, but whatever. But towards the end that involve monsters. But actually, it's more Minions in Hollywood. Basically, it's more of a Hollywood homage in many ways for the Minions here because they want to make their own. They stumble into Hollywood, want to make their own kaiju movie, and conjure up a bunch of monsters. That you get that from the trailer, but there's actually not that much monster action in it or monster characters. More so much, minions in Hollywood, basically. For me, you know what? It actually worked. I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I had good fun with it. Right? How you'll feel about this? I don't know because I, I, to me, it's like if you like the Minions, you'll like this. And I like the Minions, but there was becoming a time in the last couple of films when I was kind of like I was getting over it a bit. Like the Rise of Gru film came out about 4 years ago. I didn't hate it or anything like that, but it was kind of like, yeah, I'm over this. I'm kind of like, yeah. I think a big part of that one is because it got delayed like 2 years because it was meant to come out in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. So they'd already started the marketing campaign, didn't come out till 2022, and they put out a ton of trailers for it, and I kept seeing the trailer constantly everywhere. So I felt like I'd seen the film before I'd actually seen it. The film was okay, it wasn't bad, but I was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of over this. Despicable Me 4 that came out a couple of years ago was actually pretty enjoyable, better than I thought it was going to be. A lot of the stuff was kind of wearing thin a bit, and that was kind of my thoughts on those ones. I did really like the trailer for this though when it came out for the Super Bowl. I was kind of like, oh, it looks like they're actually putting a bit of effort in and actually going to try and do something different, or at least slightly different. And don't get me wrong, the usual shenanigans are here, the usual jokes are here, the usual stuff's here, and you'd expect that. They made a ton of money doing this. But they actually did attempt to do something a little bit different with this, and I do appreciate that. Now, whether this will work with the usual vast majority of the audience here, I don't really know, because they actually have like a lot of old Hollywood references here. Of course, minor spoiler, right? This has been put out in the public here, but I'm gonna about a cameo. But if you don't know about it, fast forward on for the next 30 seconds, which I'm going to talk about as well. It's out there in the public, but from now I'll talk about this. So yeah, the George Lucas cameo in here is actually great. Apparently, he's a massive Minions fan. He has to be a part of it. And you know what? It's really well done. It's one of the best jokes in the film. It's really very well done. So, sounds so pretentious here. I just call the Minions movie a film. It's un film, but, it is what it is. So, yes, that worked really well. And yeah, the little references here. I mean, there's references to things like Citizen Kane and things like that in here, Casablanca and all that, which, a lot of the people in the audience, especially the kids who it's made for, are not really going to care about. But, if a minion goes, or whatever during it, they're going to laugh. And they did in my audience that I seen it with. So, fair play. So no, but I do actually appreciate. And I noticed this film has actually been very well liked by the critics more so than usual. It's got like a high 93% or something like that. Rotten Tomatoes critics score for what it's worth. Even though this was an interesting one, Dan Murrow, the YouTube guy, and he does the box office and everything like that. He did his review and he hates the Minions, absolutely despises them, and yet he gave this a positive review, and I think he liked the whole Hollywood aspect of it. Now, here's the interesting point here. This film's not doing very well at all at the box office, believe it or not. This actually made less in 5 days in the US over a like July 4th weekend. It made like $63 million or something like that than the first Despicable Me did back in 2010 when it was an unknown quantity. It was a new thing out there. This actually has made less in 5 days than that did in its first 3 days, and that's before you adjust for inflation. So this is kind of a shocker. Unless the Toy Story 5 being out and still doing extremely well has really hurt this film. And I noticed as well, I looked up the UK box office a couple of hours ago, and yeah, Toy Story 3 in its third weekend, actually did more in 3 days than Minions and Monsters did in its first 5 days, which is because they were including as well the Wednesday and Thursday from that, because it came out Wednesday, which is kind of shocking. It's not shocking that Toy Story 5's still doing so well, but did I call Toy Story 5 Toy Story 3 there? I don't know. I don't know. I may have done. But, it's kind of shocking either way that third weekend I actually beat the big new release. And maybe it's just like, look, for the families, I mean, the Scottish schools are just off now. So, maybe for the family audiences and everything like that, they're maybe picking Toy Story 5 over this. And it's a much better film. But I did enjoy this film. And I'll say this thing. I mentioned the first Despicable Me earlier. The first Despicable Me is still, to me, the best of these films, whether it be either of the four Despicable Me films or the three Minions films. I would say, though, of the solo Minions films, and it does suffer from some of the problems, because I like this Despicable Me films typically better than these ones, the Minions ones, mainly because there's other stuff going on. You've got Gru, you've got the other characters and everything like that. So that actually, it isn't just Minions constantly right in your face. I think they work great in particularly the first two Despicable Me films, when they're the support characters and all that. But sometimes if you give them their own film, it can be a bit. I've done it again. Film for the Minions, and to be fair, it is that Pierre Coffin or whatever he's called. That's the creator of it. So some arty-farty cinema there, with plenty of farties as well, like with fart guns and all that in this franchise. But there are no fart guns in this film, funnily enough. Sorry if that's a spoiler to tell you there's no fart guns in this film, but yeah, overall, yeah, like, I think this is of the Minion solo films. Not that it's solo because there's loads of them, but of the Minions outside Despicable Me films, this is actually the best, I would say. I'd say this is maybe even this is better than the last Despicable Me film from a couple of years ago. I think it's maybe even slightly better than Despicable Me 3. I think, like I said, Despicable Me 1, the best one. Probably the second film, still slightly better than this, but, I would say this maybe in the top three of the whole franchise, if you include the two. So, what to like about it. Trey Parker again is back. He was the villain in the third film, and I like the third film as well. And he was very good in this. He voices. I'm guessing he voices the little green, snotty monster alien guy that you see in the trailer, because you can actually tell from the voice, because there's a bit when it does sound a bit like Saddam Hussein from South Park when he has the a little bit. So it's kind of like, never thought I'd mention Saddam Hussein and the Minions in the same sentence, but well, to be fair, the Minions like to go and serve evil people, so maybe he could have been a master of the Minions at some point. Who knows? But there you go. It is what it is. But yeah, he does a really good job. Funny enough, as well, like Jeff Bridges does a voice in this film as well. I didn't even know that until I seen it in the credits at the start, because they actually do credits at the start with the names and things like that. But you recognise his voice straight away when he's there. There's a robot character in this who kind of annoyed me to begin with, but actually grew on me as the film went on, and the more and more he was on Un Film again. We're doing that running joke. But I think that might be Jesse Eisenberg. Didn't really recognise the voice, but I know he does a voice in this film, so On Film again. So whatever. But like I said, the monsters. There ain't a lot to do with the monsters in this, but I credit them for at least trying to do something a bit, adding something to it instead of just doing same old, same old. The ironic thing is they're going to make a lot less money with this film than they do with the other ones, in which they do same old, same old. So what's the lesson going to be here? At least they tried to do something a bit different here, which is maybe why film critics and more hardcore film fans might actually like this film a bit more than usual. But whatever the moral of the story is, just do same old, and you'll probably make a billion each time. But whatever, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Like I say, a few years ago, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of over this. But I thought like I said, the fourth Despicable Me film better than I thought it was going to be, and this was actually even better. I put it among the top three, like I said, of the franchise. So there you go. It's a thumbs up for me. I enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. It is what it is. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen, and goodbye.